Hey, welcome friends. Hopefully I have made it on here. Okay, I've got a cacophony of cables happening because I managed to not charge my phone. I didn't really realise until I went to get on this live stream. Anywho's, so I've got both the internet cable and power plugged into my phone, which is proving interesting. I've got a few adapters hanging off this thing and cables strung across my desk. Anywho, here we are. Hey, Sister Lilina. It is, today is the 28th of December here in New Zealand. It's 2022, just a few more days, get through the rest of this week. And this is Chat with Matt. Opportunity. I do have a question. I remember I saw it last night before I retired. I can close that. I can come over here to Facebook. It's from Ms. Debbie Love. So refresh on this thing. We can talk about that. It is, I think it's a great question. I've got two more comments here too, so let's see what else. Okay, so from Jen and a clarification from Deb, which I can't read and keep talking to you. So I'll read all of that in a moment. Let me get my water out from under my spider web. Hey, Sister Debbie, you're here. Awesome. Right, we'll get into it. So yeah, it's the end of the year. We've sort of, it's been heavy. The energy's been pretty heavy, I've got to say. We've just been ticking along here. I spent half of yesterday on a roof, a hot tin roof it was too. We've got beautiful weather here, not usual for this time of year. We've sort of got February's weather here in this December close, which is nice, feels like summer, but yeah, it was definitely hot on the roof yesterday, and I've got to get back up there this afternoon at about 11, so it'll be hot again. But anyway, at least it's not raining and it's not too windy, which adds to the heat, but also means it's easier to move roofing iron around without getting blown off said roof or having the iron blow off the roof, which is not very cool either. Deb said, I had an awareness. Hey, Sister Jill, I had an awareness this morning. I asked the universe to show... I asked the universe to show me who has my back. You could say I have been shown who hasn't. Yeah, well, that's exactly right. And that's pretty much what I was going to talk about. I just got to come down in the world a little bit, popping out top of screen, and I can't adjust my camera at this stage. If you'd seen it, if I had another camera, I'd take a photo of the rig I've got running at the moment to keep the power coming in. Yeah. So anyway, I'll start. I'll read Deb's first question and then we'll get into it so everyone's on board with what we are talking about. Debbie said, I'm feeling isolated right now. Personal relationships, and I mean all relationships, not just romantics, don't seem to go well. I have a fractured relationship with my family for years, had a very short, awkward reunion with a long-time friend on Christmas Eve, resulting in our plans to spend Christmas Day together being cancelled, and she's choosing not to communicate with me. Today I've gone to message another friend while I'm in Auckland, only to find I've been blocked. Our last communication was a few months ago. I feel blindsided, or another way of saying it, like I'm having Agent Smith moments from The Matrix, and I'm wondering what the fuck is going on. My circle is getting very small. Any ideas, guidance on what is going on? Yep. So this experience of our circle contracting is very, very normal part of the spiritual evolution or ascension path. It truly is. So don't freak out. The first thing I'd say is when this is happening, although it seems like quote unquote support is being taken away from us, it is basically false senses of security and support falling away. It's also stripping away or allowing to fall away limitations and restrictions, the way that we interact with people. It forces us to find a deeper sense of, I don't want to use the word self-sufficiency, but self-sustainability. And while I encourage you to trust that it won't last, like you will establish new friendships, but they will be based on new relationships based on the vibration that you are truly being, as opposed to based on the vibration that you are choosing to personify, right? Our personality self, with all of its different hang-ups, limitations, resistance, coping mechanisms, traumas that used to predominate our radiance, is falling away. And so as the radiance that attracted relationships in the past falls away, those relationships also don't have a foundation anymore. We find on an energetic level that we're not really resonating with a lot of the people who were attracted into our circle from the past. So there's this falling away that occurs, so that and the problem is, if you don't allow these relationships to fall away, if you keep hanging on to old relationships because they feel safe and known, then those old relationships keep reinforcing your old vibration. And we don't want that. We want the old vibration to fall away, so that the new vibration, which in some ways is more subtle, even though it's more powerful, it's because it's more rarefied, less dense, it's easily washed over by the density that we carry from the past. So even if we're like 75% in our new vibration of brilliance, and we're still hanging on to 25% of our, this is just concocted numbers by the way, 75% of our old shit from the past, then that density has more than 25% influence over what's happening in our life, unfortunately, right? Because density predominates, right? It's more obvious, it's on the surface, it's in your face. And we know that biologically, humans have a 7%, not 7%, a 7 times, right, 700% more affinity with what they perceive as a threat as what they perceive as an opportunity. So in other words, if there's a threat in the room, you are going to put 7 times more energy into that as opposed to an opportunity in the room. So when we have density in our field, we put attention on it 7 times more than the high vibrational opportunity in our field. And I've concocted those numbers, right? The 7 times bit was a study, but it wasn't about vibration and all the rest of it. But it was to illustrate the point that it doesn't take much density to railroad us, and it does require a significant amount of self-discipline to avoid being railroaded by the density that's rising in our field now as this process of purification is occurring. So this process of purification is happening for us internally, and it's also rippling out into our world around us with our relationships. And that's our relationships with people, it's our relationships with organizations and structures, it's our relationship with various concepts, including like the concept of money and the concept of love and the concept of trust. And all of these concepts are also going through this purification where there is a lot falling away right now. And that can be concerning. It can be concerning because it seems like we are being left with nothing, and our little ego does not like that idea. I just realised I haven't been letting the comments flow on. Jill said, "I'm very glad you said that, Matt, because the question resonates with me too." Awesome. I'm not sure what I said that you're glad about, but that doesn't really matter, Jill. So Debbie went on to write, that's my human feelings. Bigger picture, I get the space is being created for something new to come in, or many somethings. Exactly. I'm trying to use my finger on the friggin' screen of my laptop. God, I'm wondering why it wouldn't scroll. You think you've got problems? That's a bit of a first world problem, I have to admit, that I've got a laptop to start with. Anywho, but yes, so this is space being cleared away, and with compassion, understand the experience of being quote unquote ghosted, rejected, disapproved of is a very, very painful one. And it's true that no matter how quote unquote spiritual we become, no matter how aligned with high vibration we become, we will always, as humans, yearn for human connection. The highest form of empowerment is not self-sufficiency where we don't need people. The highest form of empowerment is sort of interconnectedness, not codependence, but intradependence, where we choose to relate to people because it's incredibly joyful to do so, and it's incredibly expansive to do so. And we know that the sum of our parts when we come together in communion is greater than the individual parts themselves. So we will always hold relationship and communication and interaction and community with high priority. So it's not that we're all going to become recluse because we don't need other people. It's as other people are falling away, we are opening space for having much more healthy relationships with others who will come into our life based on alignment with the new vibration that's emerging. Unfortunately, at the moment, there's a lot of sort of pendulum going on. As our new vibration emerges, the old vibration that's leaving comes up with more intensity, right? There's more protests going on. There's more chaos in the streets, both out there and in here, right? And in here particularly, there's more protests going on. So we have to be willing, or at least choosing to accept and trust that this process is chaotic at the moment, and we don't feel stable, and we don't feel together, and we feel quite lost and alone. And that's unfortunate, but pretty much par for the course. I know I've been going through it for enough years now to consciously and consistently choose to make peace with this experience, knowing that it is in a process of shift, and we will come to a time in the near future, in my belief, where relationships will really start coming back in a much deeper way, right? Where we really will have the opportunity to communicate with others in deep ways, even beyond, verbal communication and intimacy, more into energetic intimacy. We'll be able to see into the energy or feel into the energy of people we are choosing to commune with, and it will be very, very beautiful and sustaining and nurturing and exciting too, right? Because we will start to create circles of friendship that propel everyone at a rapid pace outward, expansively, right? Jill said, I found recently that friendships from last 20 years are the ones falling apart, and I'm linking up with falling apart, and I'm linking up with different people now, but at the same time, some friends from childhood and my 20s are reappearing, but only the ones who, by their own path, are sort of on the same hymn sheet as me now. Launching myself into a new life 150 miles away soon is a challenge, but I'm not scared. I know I will meet the right people when I get there. I guess I've learnt to be happy with living myself. Yeah, and that's important, right? Because if we need people, right, intensely, then we're always going to make bad choices, right? We're always going to be grippy. We're always going to be hanging on to people, and that is never a great it's never a great foundation for developing good relationships in any sense, right? Whether friendship or romantic or business or anything. When there's great need for each other, there's always going to be codependence, and so we don't want that. We don't want codependence. We want interdependence. We want people who can stand on their own and recognize the joy in being in community and communion with others. So, hey, Sister Michelle. So, yeah, that's it. Things that aren't in resonance are going to fall away, and so you just have to trust the process, Deb. I know it's hard, and especially around Christmas, everything to do with relationship, especially if you've got a dysfunctional family, is going to be intensified because there's this whole push by society, the narrative around Christmas is a time to be together. And so people who aren't in, communion with others at Christmas time, feel especially quote unquote depressed. and it is a very sad time for a lot of people as well. A very sad time for a lot of people, which society kind of glosses over and makes it all about the Christmas tree and the joy. And you know, it's great if you've got little kids running around and they're getting presents. It is an amazing time. But for a lot of people, that isn't the truth. And a lot of people feel that they're not fulfilling the expectation of what they should be at Christmas. You know, we should all be magically very joyful at Christmas, which is, you know, a completely delusional expectation. And one that we are destined to fail at. And then to feel shitty because we're failing and like we're the Grinch or something, right? Or we're ungrateful or something's wrong with us, right? For not being happy at Christmas time. Down the spiral we go, right? So I'm glad that's serving Debbie. So here we go. I'm going to move on. Sister Jen wrote in, not a question, but a discussion topic I'm interested in. Discussion topic that I'm interested in. Sorry, I kind of put a break in there that wasn't supposed to be there. This weekend, I came to a deeper realization of how much fear is running the show. Fear of not following the rules, of not being the good girl, lest I be punished, the fear of breaking habits and doing the things that we are supposed to do. It seems like a rebellious act to actually do nothing, to really sit and listen and differentiate between social patterning and intuition. Yes, it's an awesome... Sorry, my battery warning's coming on. I tried to plug in power through the adapter, but I've got no way of knowing if it's working while I'm on the live stream. But hopefully we're going to hold out for another 10 minutes. And if I drop out, you know why. I've run out of power. But let's get on to this. It is an awesome discussion topic, and this is really, really beneficial for us to remember that there is a lot of fear of non-compliance, right? We have all been punished in past lifetimes for not complying. We've all seen other people punished in past lifetimes for not complying with the rules of society and the general expectation of what we should do as good members of society, which is, of course, a shifting field of shouldness, but it has been a shifting field of shouldness. But in general, you know, society has always created expectations of how members of the society or members of the tribe, right, even going back to before, quote unquote, civilization, tribal mentality has maintained this as well. There's always an expectation of what we should do. And whenever we choose to go beyond the should, we are going to feel fearful. We're going to feel the fear of potential rejection, the fear of being singled out and identified, right? Getting separated from the flock for being different to others. So, and noticing, the thing I like about this is noticing how there is a general societal expectation that we're going to stay busy doingness, right? Doing productive things, running around, buying things, and earning money, right? Either earning money or spending money. That's what society is projecting at us from all directions about what we should do. That we should be busy with social what do we call those things? Not agendas. Arrangements, you know, social interaction. We should be busy, right? To sit still, to be idle, right? Idle hands are the devil's work. Is that a correct religious saying that is, you know, was projected around? Probably not so much today, but generally sort of 50 years ago, you know, idle hands, what? I had scrambled eggs and smoked salmon. Okay, great, chill. Sorry, I'm not going down that path right now. So the point is, there is a great push by society to keep us feeling the devil makes work for idle hands. Yeah. So there's a great push by society to keep busy, right? And so it does feel very naughty when we choose to do nothing. We have to dance with labels like lazy, right? When we do nothing, quote unquote, when we sit still, when we meditate, when we contemplate. And so, people will come to us and say, why are you so sad if you are sitting on your own, right? And you can reply, well, I'm not sad, I'm just sitting. Well, why aren't you talking with others? Why aren't you interacting with others? This is like, there's a story that Swamiji used to tell, of, yes, but I'm communicating with God. It's like people don't get it, that I'm in relationship with everything. I don't need to distract myself by making small talk with people, right? But the general mentality that's been projected out there and intensified, made right by society, is that there's something wrong with you. You're a bit crazy. You're a bit of a Fruit Loop if you're sitting on your own in that vibration, right? In that meditation or contemplation or connection, right, that happens naturally when we get quiet, when we shut our mouth and just allow ourselves to be present in environments. It can be incredibly, incredibly beautiful. It used to be that time seemed to drag unless I was busy, busy, busy. Now it's flipped the other way. Yeah, and it's interesting, this whole concept, Jill, of time dragging. What is that? Most people as they get older want time to now drag, because what's time racing towards other than you're leaving the planet, which of course other people are looking forward to, depending on their mentality, right? But this whole concept of time and clock time and stuff, it's all very entangled. So to differentiate between social patterning and intuition is an awesome line of inquiry, and I would like to encourage everyone to be willing to go there, right? Be willing to slow down and just inquire or notice or be curious about what is driving you. What is driving you to be busy? What is driving you to feel uncomfortable about being still? What is driving you to do anything, really? What is the underlying motivation between various impulses that are coming up with you? Emotional desires, mental desires, physical desires, wants and needs. What's behind all of that stuff, right? What's behind it all? And you don't need to figure it all out to be a good, right, proper person. It's not about that at all. But it is about choosing to be a little bit more aware of this experience called life, right? Be a little bit more aware of what's driving you along this path. Are you operating from your heart and what your soul is desiring to do? Or are you getting pushed around by your social programs, by your latent or programmed, desires and aversions, the shoulds and the shouldn'ts? Are you trying to win appreciation? Are you trying to, quote unquote, fit in? Are you trying to be a good person for the sake of something you're not even sure of? And why are you trying to be a good person? What inherently is lacking in you, right? Why do you feel you're not a good person as you be, and feel that you have to do something to earn the title of good, right? What is that? We've all got it, by the way. I'm not saying that you're somehow deficient for feeling that. But I'm pointing out that until we become aware that these programs are running, until we become aware that there are these motivators in our field, then we can't really make conscious choice around whether we're allowing those motivators to predominate, or whether we are noticing those motivators and choosing to do our best to step into a deeper form of motivation, right? Into a deeper form of of authentic expression, right? We can't be authentic if we don't have connection to who we truly are, right? You can say you're being authentic, but you're authentically expressing your emotional programs, right? Or your emotional traumas, which is still authenticity, right? But it's not the deepest form of authenticity, right? You're authentically expressing the programs that you're carrying, etc., etc., right? There's layers to this thing of peeling away social conditioning that says we should not upset other people, that says we should not rock the boat, that says we should not be loud and what's the right word? Disturbing, right? Jill said, it reminds me of another of my Mediterranean, sorry, I'm not very good at saying that word, essence, a beautiful little mountain thyme from the top of the island, gathered under a daytime full moon and strong sun. It was super active with busy worker bees, and I feel the essence is for recognizing we can step off the treadmill and just be with one E. Exactly. We can just be with one E. We don't have to be a little worker bee doing our duty. Although, you know, worker bees have better duties than most of us. They fly from flower to flower collecting nectar. And it doesn't matter what flower they go to. They can go to a beautiful rose or a thorny thistle and collect nectar. They have the capacity to take and to receive the sweetness in all of what life offers, from the smallest little flowers to big beautiful blooms of whatever is big and beautiful. For those words that start with M. What's that word? Doesn't matter. I'm not much of a flower person. I'll remember it in a minute. Doesn't want to come. Anyway, my friends, so hopefully that chat has served you guys. I'm going to get off before my phone runs out and I end in a non-controlled way. But yes, so choose to step beyond the social conditionings, and this sort of feeds back to what Debbie was asking before about, you know, having friendships and all of that sort of stuff. That was a much bigger flower than bougainvillea. It was those big tree flowers that start with an M. But anyway, and some of them are like huge, like dinner plates. And they're out at the moment around here. But anywho, maybe it doesn't start with M. Maybe that's where I'm going wrong. But yes, be aware of what's going on. Be aware of the social conditioning. Be aware of social conditioning around the need for friends. And allow yourself, that's it, that's exactly it. Magnolia. And I was thinking about the big grandiose ones that are evergreen. Magnolia, thank you, Lelina. Magnolia, that's how we say that. The big white ones at the moment, pretty spectacular. But yes, the bee can take the nectar from anything, from the weeds as well as, you know, the prized flower. Doesn't matter. So maintain your awareness. Choose to look beyond the programs and choose to recognize that a lot of stuff is falling away right now, including friendships that we once held dear to us and once felt very safe and helped to create a circle that helped us feel safe and secure in the world. And a lot of that old form of safety and security is falling away so that we can emerge with a new self-sufficiency in our security, in our depths, so that we can have relationship not based on what keeps us safe and what keeps us comfortable, but what really aligns with us and what really helps to propel us forward into a more expansive expression of ourselves here on the planet as a magnificent divine creator having a human experience. So that's the point. Yeah. Awareness is the first step. And then having the discipline or the courage to consciously make choice based on that awareness, right? To consciously make choice and to relax, right? Which is a big part of this, is to consciously choose to relax despite all of the influences coming to us from outside to stay stressed and busy and making things important that aren't really important. Like for example, another little example of what's been made important through the last few generations is the need to stay on top of the news, right? The news from overseas, the news from everywhere, right? You should know the news because that's what that's socially responsible. It's your responsibility to know what's going on in the world. Why? How does it help for you to know what's going on in Afghanistan or in the Ukraine or even in somewhere else where whatever's going on doesn't really pertain to your life? How does that help you? But it's been made very wrong not to stay a bridge of the news. Why? Because that news feels like a threat. It feels like a threat. It keeps you in a stressed state, right? It keeps you disempowered in stress. Every time you sit down in front of the news and watch it, you are being bombarded with negative information that feels like a direct threat to your survival. But your body feels that, right? Because your body can't differentiate. It can just perceive the images and the sounds and the tone of the voice and everything that's going on, that there's a threat at hand, even if it's on the other side of the world and it's not really a threat to you. This is the point, right? And that's been made very socially acceptable, not just socially acceptable, but very unacceptable for you not to know what's going on, right? If you don't know the news, it's like, oh my God, what, you don't watch the news? So we just have to have a look at what is driving these social norms that may not be for your best good. And I'm not saying that we should all have our head in the sand and not know what's going on in the other side of the world, but the fact is that a lot of people sit down to watch 3 versions of the news every single night, and they're just bombarding themselves with information that is inducing a stress state in their physicality, which is then influencing their emotionality and their mentality. And now they're operating from stress, which is not a great place to be. They're cutting themselves off from their own intuition, cutting themselves off from their own knowing, and they're much more easily programmed and controlled from that point on. When you're in a stress state, you are much more suggestible, much more easy to suggest to than when you are not in a stress state, right? Much more easy to direct, to do things, right? To follow what is perceivably going to minimize your stress or help you find your safety now that you are feeling stressed. So now you're going to go and buy the Coca-Cola or the cigarettes or the whatever that they're advertising to you that feels like the antidote to the stress that you're feeling. But they created the stress just in the last program, right? And now you're watching the commercial that's telling you how to overcome it, right? This is a vicious cycle that benefits a few people on this planet and disempowers the vast majority of us. So be aware, right? Be aware of these social norms and how they may not be serving you so well. Beautiful. Much love, my friends. I'll speak to you again soon. Have a great end of the year if I don't speak to you before then. Relax, right? Don't make it too important about trying to set resolutions for next year either. I'll try and jump on and do a quick thing about that. I tend to most years, right? Don't magically think that next year's going to be better just because the calendar date changes. Let's consciously choose to create a better world. And that's not by setting crazy resolutions that you are not going to achieve and then feel like a failure. So be kind to yourself, right? Be kind to yourself, be soft with yourself, be an allowance that this process is a massive unraveling. And right now we are in an intense part of that unraveling. And so be compassionate and soft and kind to yourself, and then that will flow out to how you're dealing with others. And we can love ourselves, all of us, as a society, as a community, through this experience of big change. Much love. If you need some individual help or if you want to know something more, reach out to me. I'm here. Send a message, write a comment, email, whatever. Much love. Namaste. Bye for now. How do I finish this? Oh, it's down here.